Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. We are talking with State Senator Raumesh Akbari. She's a Democrat from Memphis, and you have filed a bill that would allow the sale and taxation of marijuana in the state of Tennessee. Basically, legalize recreational marijuana in Tennessee. The tax would be 12%. That money would go to the general fund and fund all kinds of things. We are taking calls. Okay. And we have a lot of calls.
Yeah, good.
Okay, we have a bunch. Let's go to Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Go right ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? I think that it needs to be legalized recreationally, just because, I mean, it's... Hello?
Okay, yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Sorry, my phone... Yeah, I'm going to have to hang up. I can't hear anything.
Okay, we'll come back to you. You can call back in. Let's go to Derek. Hello, Derek.
Yes, how you doing, guys? First
Great.
of all, hello to you, Ben, and hello, Senator, to you. My question is, and my concern is that basically we're never going to get legalized marijuana in Tennessee, not even medicinal. We've had families with kids who have literally had to move out to either California or Colorado. Maybe now, since Illinois has passed, they can go up to Illinois. But basically, as long as we have private prisons, companies like Core Civic, based out of Nashville, Tennessee, I think they moved from Green Hills and now they're out in Brentwood. And as long as they have lobbyists who are pushing for tougher penalties than ever before, so they can make some money and make a profit off of people of nonviolent marijuana offenses, it's going to be a hard-fought battle. You also have the alcohol industry lobbyists as well as tobacco, but tobacco is starting to get into marijuana crops. So that's going to probably change before anything. But as long as we have private prisons who can make and profit off of nonviolent offenses of marijuana, it's going to be a hard-fought battle. But I support the senator and anybody else that's in the Capitol who are trying to change the mindset of those in Tennessee and in the South in general.
All right, well, let's talk about that. So he's saying there's certain special interest groups that don't want to see this. He's mentioning specifically private prisons. Have you seen that?
I have not. It's been more generically from law enforcement. I will say, though, that as a whole, our state, when we look at our budget, eclipsing $1.1 billion in the cost of incarceration, which was a big deal when we hit $1 billion. As a state, we are not interested in, and the governor seems to be committed to some meaningful criminal justice reform. We'll see what that actually shakes out to be. Have not gotten any clarity on that yet. But I mean, I do think that for me, the shift in mindset, or at least what indicated that there was a shift a couple of years ago, the medicinal marijuana bill actually had really not powerful, but really well-respected lobbyists pushing for it, which means that there were some companies that were actually had a vested interest in seeing the legislation pass. And now we have like I said, there's a bill that is Republican-led. I believe it's called the Trump Act, like Tennesseans for the Responsible Use of Medicinal Products. I know.
The Trump Act,
right. But that focuses on medicinal marijuana. So I think, we're a lot closer than we have ever been, especially when you have a state like Arkansas so close to us with medicinal. I think medicinal will definitely happen before recreational. But, every piece of legislation has special interest groups against it, but they also have a ton that are in support of it. So we'll just see who wins out.
There's no doubt from the calls there are a ton of people that are for it. It's interesting to hear from that thought and that perspective that there would be an industry, the private prison industry, against it for financial reasons. Or he was saying the alcohol industry. You haven't seen that?
I have not. No, I have not seen the alcohol industry lobby against it, even when, because we had a medicinal bill that moved through committee. It ended up getting, I think it was withdrawn in the Senate, but when I was in the House, it moved through our criminal justice subcommittee. The speaker had to come in and break the tie, and it also moved out of the full committee. So I think there's an appetite for it.
All right, let's go to Paula. Hello, Paula.
No, it's Ann. But
Ann, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I've dealt with major pain issues with my joints since I was a teenager, and in the last 2 years, I've had numerous friends travel that brought me back products from Colorado and California specifically to try. And I'm definitely for Tennessee doing something. So my question is, why are you with the recreational bill instead of a medicinal bill, especially when a medicinal bill would benefit children to a great extent, especially when it comes to seizure and epilepsy? And is it because you can attach it to an educational bill? And if that's the case, do Colorado and California or Illinois have their funding going, or their taxation going back into their educational system? And if so, what percentage, and how has that worked for those states?
Now, that's a lot of questions. Do the best you can.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, the reason why we decided to push recreational is because there are a lot of folks that are already on the medicinal marijuana legislation. And when you look at states that have recently, like Illinois and like Missouri to a certain extent, that have moved forward with recreational, even California, a lot of people don't know this, California had medicinal for a couple decades. They actually just did recreational last year. So I think that was really our interest. I know that Colorado has a percentage that goes back to the state government. They do not necessarily specify that it has to go to education. But again, like I said, it's looking, if you have a $40 billion budget, it's generating $1 billion into that budget, which is a big deal when you're looking for revenue as a state legislature, because that's our only constitutional duty, is to pass a budget. The next thing I'll say is, as far as children and those that suffer from seizures, we passed legislation a couple of years ago that will allow CBD oil to be used for children specifically that have intractable seizures. And that was a big deal. They testified before committee. You saw that these children were being prescribed heavy narcotics, and instead they're able to take CBD oil, which you could drink an entire vat of it and it still would not get you high in any way. So that we've already kind of taken care of. Again, the discussion around medicinal purely was looking at an oil. Recreational actually helps with our criminalization as well.
Okay. Let's go to Reverend Fuzz. Hello, Reverend Fuzz.
Hey, Ben. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
Okay. I'm Ms. Akbari, and I've been following you and been proud of you from my hometown in Memphis.
Thank you.
I wanted to wonder about those states like California, Colorado. Didn't their recreational or medicinal marijuana laws come about because of a referendum that the people voted? Or was it the legislature that did it? And I'd ask you, in Tennessee, what do you think would happen if the voters got to make the decision on whether to legalize marijuana or not? And why is it that our legislators, our voters are in favor of something 75%, but then the legislators go and vote it down? Aren't legislators, don't they represent the people of the state? How does that kind of work? How do you say that 75% of people want something and the legislature says you can't have it? Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, so that's the funny thing about public opinion and public support. So say, I think a Vanderbilt poll says over 60% of Tennesseans support legalizing marijuana in some capacity. A legislator might be from a district, though, where that doesn't trickle down to their community. So I think that has something to do with it. I would prefer that it was a referendum, because then legislators don't have to take that type of difficult vote. They can say, listen, we want to put this in the hands of the people who are going to be impacted. However, Tennessee's structure is not set up like that, unfortunately. The only time it becomes a referendum is if we are looking at a constitutional amendment, which is a little extreme, I think, as far as classifying whether or not you can buy marijuana or not. Like in Arkansas, they actually were able to do a referendum, and so the people were able to decide.
We've seen that in other states, right? It's a big vote, and then the tally comes in, and it's up or down. But you don't think we'll see that in Tennessee?
No, we do not have the structure in place where you could do that. I mean, honestly, the only time we do these statewide referendums is when we're talking about amending the Constitution.
And that's not going to happen here?
I don't think so, no.
No. Okay. We have a bunch of calls. Stay on the line, I promise. So stay on the line. We're going to take a break, then we'll come right back, take more calls. Be back right after this.